Hello, students. A wonderful day to you all. I hope we all are having a brilliant day. So today we are going to be discussing a topic, auxiliary verbs. So auxiliary verbs are also called helping verbs. And they are called helping verbs because they help the main verb to form its tenses, its mood, as well as its modalities in terms of possibilities, permission, necessity, ability, etc. Right? So these are what we refer to as auxiliary verbs. But then in this lesson, um, we're going to be looking at some of these aspects of verbs, the primary auxiliary verbs and the modal auxiliary verbs, So our introduction, this presentation provides an overview of auxiliary verbs, focusing on their definitions, types, functions, and key differences between primary and modal auxiliary verbs. Okay, for our table of contents, we have definition of auxiliary verbs, primary auxiliary verbs, usage of primary auxiliary verbs, modal auxiliary verbs, expressing modality with modal verbs, key differences between primary and modal auxiliary verbs. Then, of course, home activities. So let's begin with the definition. Auxiliary verbs are helping verbs that support the meaning of the main verb in a sentence. Now, when we say auxiliary verbs support the meaning of the main verbs in the sentence, if you just say, I came, or I come to your house every day, right? This verb has no helping verb to it. But if you add something like, I will come to your house tomorrow, you are saying that you come into the person's house in the future, right? Or you want to say it's in a progressive manner. You say, I am coming to your house, meaning I'm on my way, right? Coming to your house. So you see, am, will, these are auxiliary verbs. So they help to convey a little, to add a little information to the verb you are discussing, right? So there are two types of auxiliary verbs. We have the primary and the modal auxiliary verbs. Now we're going to be looking at these types of auxiliary verbs quickly. The primary auxiliary verbs. Now, I will show you the examples of the primary auxiliary verbs, right? Like be. Be has some examples like am, are, were, is, was, and been. These are the primary auxiliary verbs under be. Then under have, we have, has, had, right? These are the verbs under have. Then under do, we have do, did, done, don't, right? These are the auxiliary verbs under do. And we use these verbs to support the main verbs in a sentence, okay? Now, basically, this primary auxiliary verb, they help form the tense, mood, or voices of another verb, right? Take note of this, that they help form the voice, mood, or tense of another verb. For instance, if I say, I come to your house, and I said, I have come to your house, it shows present tense, right? Or if I say, I had come to your house, it shows past perfect tense, right? Or if I say, she has come, right? To your house. It shows present tense, right? So you can see how it helps to show the tense of the main verb. Or if I say, I have come to your house, the mood here is indicative. I'm indicating that I am in your house, right? So it's an indicative mood. Then the voice of this sentence is active. You know, we have both active and passive voices in English, although there are some other scholars who say there is a middle voice, even though that is not very common. But then we have mainly active and passive voice in English. Then for mood, we have indicative mood, we have imperative mood, and we have subjunctive mood. These are different moods in it. But then the most common in English for the mood is the indicative, right? The most used indicative. And the most common for the voice is the passive, the active and the passive voice. Of course, the tense, you know, we have the future tense, the present tense, and the past tense, right? So these are the things that primary auxiliary verbs help to establish in a sentence when they help the main verb. Now let's talk about the modal auxiliary verb. Okay, now let's talk about the usage first of all. Sorry. Usage of the primary auxiliary verb. Now, it can be used in specific grammatical construction, right? You can use it to construct a specific grammatical construction. For instance, we have example. Present perfect tense. You can say, I have eaten. That is present perfect tense. I have eaten. I have eaten. Present perfect tense. So it's specific, right? Past perfect. I had eaten. Specific, right? Future perfect. I will have eaten. Specific. Have. Had. These are primary auxiliary verbs. Okay? Okay. Now let's talk about the modal auxiliary verbs. So the modal auxiliary verb, we have different examples. We have words like can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, must. These are different examples of the modal auxiliary verbs. Now, what do? They express modalities, which includes concepts like possibility, necessity, obligation, permission, and ability. So modal auxiliary verbs are used to establish modalities in a sentence. So these modalities include concepts like possibility, like you are expressing possibility of something happening. So remember, they are meant to help the main verb. So the main verb is talking about an action, right? So this modal auxiliary verbs expresses the possibility, can help you express the possibility of that action, can help you express the necessity of that action, can help you express the obligation in that action, can help you express the ability of that action, that are the extent of the ability of that action, or to help you express permission, right, in a sentence. So let's see the usage. How is it used? So how can we express modality with modal verbs? How do we do this? We have examples. For instance, possibility. How do we express possibility with a modal verb? It may rain. It may rain. When you use the word may, which is an auxiliary, which is a modal auxiliary verb, it means you are expressing the possibility of something happening. You're not sure, but it's likely going to happen, right? So you say it may rain, possibility. We have another necessity. You can express necessity with modal auxiliary verb. For instance, you can say, you must try this, meaning it is necessary for you to try this. So must is an auxiliary verb, a modal auxiliary verb that can help you express necessity. Obligation. You can also express obligation using a modal auxiliary verb. I should help him, meaning you are feeling obligated to help someone. I should help him, right? Meaning you're feeling, it is my obligation to help this person, right? I should help him. So should is a modal auxiliary verb here. Permission, may I go now? May also here is used as a modal auxiliary verb to express permission. May I go now? You're asking for permission to go, right? Then ability. I can speak French. So can here expresses one's ability to do something, which is to speak what? French. I can speak French. So you see, these are the concepts modal auxiliary verbs help us achieve: permission, possibilities, um, obligation, ability, and of course, necessity, right? Okay, now let's look at the key differences, right? Key differences between primary and modal auxiliary verbs. What are some key differences? Number one, in terms of function, they differ. How? Primary auxiliary verbs help form the tense, mood, or voice, while modal auxiliary verb express modality in a sentence. We've already explained that. When we say the tense, the voice, and the mood of a sentence can be expressed by using primary auxiliary verb. When you use is, when you use was, you use have, you use had, you use do, does. You can express the mood, the tense, and of course the voice of a particular action. But then modal auxiliary verb, like we have discussed earlier, expresses the modality in terms of permission, possibility, ability, necessity, obligation, right? Now, in terms of meaning, they differ. Primary auxiliary verbs do not carry meaning on their own, but modal auxiliary verb conveys specific meaning. Of course, that is true. For primary auxiliary verb, they can't give you a meaning on their own unless you add them to help a main verb. But modal auxiliary verb can carry a meaning on their own to an extent. For example, when you say, um, um, can I? Right? You are expressing ability. It tells you that this is ability, right? Can I? It has its own meaning to an extent, right? Before you now add the main verb to the sentence. So these are differences we can find. Another difference is in terms of usage. Primary verbs are used in specific grammatical constructions. Modal verbs are versatile in context, right? You can use modal verb in different contexts, while primary auxiliary verbs are used in a specific context. Like when you say, I have eaten, right? You're being specific. But modal auxiliary verb, you can even use it along with along with primary auxiliary verb. You can say, I will have eaten. When you say that, you are talking about the future, right? I will have eaten. So you see, you can use modal auxiliary verb in a variety of ways, while primary auxiliary verb are more specific, right? So now we're going to be giving you a home activity. So what you're going to do for me is you create you you create 10 sentences using auxiliary verbs. So you use 5 sentences with primary auxiliary verbs, and you use 5 sentences with modal auxiliary verbs. Okay, so these are the words. So you pick like 5 modal auxiliary verbs, 5 primary auxiliary verbs, and make sentences with them. Now, in conclusion, in summary, understanding auxiliary verbs is essential for proper grammar usage. Primary auxiliary verbs assist in forming verb tenses, while modal auxiliary verb can convey different modalities. With this, I want to believe that we've been able to discuss effectively auxiliary verbs and their usage, right? Okay, so with this, I'm sure we are going to use auxiliary verbs more appropriately going forward. So till we meet again, we'll say goodbye.